point outstretched ahead of him, he fired all 10 rounds from the Glock 21 into the creature. One round must have done damage because it dropped and stayed down. "Son of a bitch," Odell breathed, repeating the curse he hadn't been permitted the time to finish before. Just as he was starting the familiar movements of reloading, the body twitched and bones cracked as it shot up into a press-up position and raised its face to glare at him, mouth opening impossibly wide, to reveal obsidian fangs, more at home in the Mariana Trench than a construction site in Croatia. "Shit!" Odell yelped, scrambling upright and drawing his tertiary weapon. This had been a new development for him, and not one that he took to. Instead of a third pistol or a tactical shotgun, he now carried a modern version of the short samurai sword laid in his lap when the next level of truth had been pressed on him. He felt clumsy with it, like a kid waving a stick around after watching an old Bruce Lee movie. But there was no doubting the efficiency of the wakizashi's edge. He swung it like a bat, slicing the air and drawing a smile from the creature advancing on him. He was backing away into a corner, like a drunk outside a bar brandishing a traffic cone, trying to ward off the cops, when the upright body in front of him jerked aside and hinged in the middle in the most unnatural way. A split second later, he heard the report, the sharp crack of a 290-grain round, moving at a little over 2,500 feet per second. Following that came the rolling boom of the muzzle report, high up and far away enough to make the shot an impressive one. "You're welcome," Ramona said in his ear. "Thanks," Odell gasped back, forgetting to transmit and reaching for the button on his vest to repeat the word out of normal sequence. She said something back, but Odell lost the ability to hear. What his eyes saw occupied every available byte of processing power his brain had available, and then some, sending him into overclock mode as the shattered body started to fight back to an upright position again. "Oh, hell no," he snarled, taking his sword in both hands and swinging it like Happy Gilmore teeing off. The folded steel sang, barely slowing as it met the skin of the neck and passed through everything contained within before emerging from the far side to leave the body toppling one way and the head another. He stood, panting over the kill, fighting the urge to pat himself down for injuries when the sound of running boots slapping the wet mud grew loud fast. Carlo, looking like the human equivalent of a slope-back Hummer, skidded around the corner where Odell had previously taken cover and took in the scene without emotion. He crossed to Odell, looked him up and down without speaking, then turned to the 2 parts of the vampire and sketched the sign of the cross, muttering in Portuguese to himself, before raising his weapon and obliterating the chest cavity of the headless corpse. Gore splashed Odell's face, blessedly washed away fast by the driving rain, tearing another blasphemous curse from his lips. "A little warning next time?" Odell complained, when Carlo's left eyebrow raised as his only concession to an apology. "I have the other one cornered," Kim's voice announced calmly in their ears. As one, they both turned and ran in the direction of trouble as swishes of sword swings and grunts of effort filled their airways. By the time they arrived, joined by Clayton a second later, Kim was standing over a second headless body and drawing a curious dagger from the small of his back. He bent down and placed the tip against the center of the undead chest, pausing to mutter a few words, before pressing the polished wooden dagger through skin and muscle to puncture the heart. The detached head opened its eyes and released a hideous, silent scream, unable to make a sound for the lack of body attached to it, before the eyes slowly closed and the headless body went slack. Kim stood, youthful and energetic, to sheath his sword and bow his head momentarily. He alone didn't carry a firearm, save for the pistol holstered on the vest he wore at the insistence of others, preferring to rely on a century of sword skill to hunt demons. "Picking up chatter on local police channels," Tara said over their channel from her position in the armored van quarterbacking the operation. "And I've got blue lights about 2 miles out. Time for y'all to DD," Ramona added. "DD?" Odell asked in confusion. "DD, book, vamonos, get the hell out of Dodge. Man, you've seen Platoon, right?" Odell was too annoyed and frustrated to offer a response. Instead, he shook his head and bent to pick up the ankles of the vampire Kim had dispatched, while Kim, almost reverently,